Chapter
NK
121, Awkward Early Morning.
Su Phong dreamed of a nightmare. He saw himself seduced and forced by a female demon. He woke up suddenly, eyes wide, gasping for breath.
Hoo-hoo.
Su Phong breathed heavily, then realized the familiar pressure on his body. Looking down, he saw the girl lying flat on him. He sighed helplessly. No wonder I dreamed of a nightmare.
No. Yunhan stirred by his movement, eyes half closed, voice still sleepy.
After a while she fully woke, face flushed, quickly rolled off him, leaving only her back in sight. At that moment Yunhan only felt embarrassed, but also a bit familiar. After all, every morning she hugged Su Phong tightly, it had become a habit.
Is your back still itchy? Su Feng's eyes showed a smile.
Yunhan buried her face in the sleeping bag, voice low, no, not itchy. Though familiar, she could not face him directly.
Let me check if your skin is still red with allergy.
Su Phong pulled her collar down to look. Unexpectedly an accident happened.
Ah!
The strap of her undergarment loosened, revealing her smooth back.
Su Phong froze, blinking blankly. His lips twitched, hoarse voice, Yunhan, I did not mean it. I know.
Her voice trembled, face red, arms crossed on her chest. This moment was like a dream. How could this happen?
Cough, cough.
Su Phong cleared his throat, his black and white eyes swept across her back, finding no allergy rash.
He immediately stood up, no rash, all healed. No. Yunhan replied hoarsely. Hoo-hoo.
He exhaled, looked at his hand, muttered angrily, usually you are not so mischievous, today why so troublesome?
Now both are embarrassed.
To distract himself, he carried a wooden tub, took banana peels out to dry on rocks. Tonight he could try to strip fibers, maybe weave cloth. Then he lit the stove, took out jars and pots left overnight to check. All perfect. In the wilderness, pottery only needed not to leak, shape was unimportant.
Burn another kiln, this afternoon it will be ready. He counted remaining clay, 1 kiln was enough.
After moving finished pottery back to the hut, he saw Yunhan with clothes ready to wash.
Yes, can be used.
Su Phong said calmly.
That is good.
She blushed, carrying clothes away. Half an hour later, the kiln was sealed.
Next time must rebuild the kiln.
He looked at cracks on the wall, knowing it could not bear heat anymore. Turning back, he saw her preparing breakfast. He took the axe into the forest to cut logs, taking advantage before the sun grew hot. He wanted wood to build a fence. Half an hour later, a sweet voice echoed, Su Phong, breakfast.
Coming. He answered, dragging logs back.
In minutes he piled them near thorns.
Already many logs and thorns gathered, ready for a fence. A few more trips will be enough. He counted roughly.
Entering the hut, he saw the table set, even grilled fish.
Why so plentiful today? He asked.
We plan to explore, better eat full to carry more food back. She replied cheerfully.
Then you must eat more. He smiled. After breakfast, they packed up. Su Phong, besides water what else to bring? Yunhan asked, having packed 4 bamboo tubes of water and ropes. Nothing more, just bring more water. He shook his head. He carried most tools, axe, shovel, ropes and his precious bow.
At the hiding spot, he retrieved bamboo bow and arrows smoked for preservation, then strung the bow. Let's go, take advantage of sunrise, we walk farther. He carried gear.
All right.
Yunhan also carried gear, holding rope bag. Both set off together into the forest at dawn.
Chapter 122, Welcome to join us. Hurry up, get ready for the hunt. Zhao Lei urged. He glanced at his brother lying lazily on the grass, suddenly regretting this team. His brother was too lazy. Zhao Lei thought to himself, if only my wife were here, after 1 year I could take the child back, ha ha ha. All right. Zhao Lei, still sleepy, opened his eyes in a daze, his whole body weak from eating too little.
The sun has risen. If we do not set out now, the heat will only grow stronger.
Zhao Lei said calmly. I know, stop pushing.
Zhao Loi responded irritably, lacking sleep, his body weak, yet still forced to hear nagging beside his ear, making him restless. If he just lay there, eating and sleeping, perhaps he could enter a low consumption state, but that would only make him weaker. Zhao Lei frowned, looked at the sun, and forced himself to hold back his temper, otherwise they would quarrel and hunting would be impossible.
More than half an hour later. Wait, there are footprints here. Zhao Loi whispered. What kind of footprints? Zhao Lei asked in alarm. Human.
Zhao Loi's tone was grave.
What? Humans? Zhao Lei was stunned, then asked quickly, could it be other challengers?
Very likely, these footprints are not much different from ours, they should belong to two men.
Zhao Loi analyzed.
From the size of the footprints, it was easy to tell gender, and men's feet are generally larger.
Since when have other challengers been around our camp?
Zhao Lei's face darkened. Too many challengers would quickly exhaust resources, and food in this pine forest was already limited. 2 more would reduce their harvest.
Let us follow and take a look.
Zhao Loi stood up and said seriously, we should know who they are.
All right. Zhao Lei nodded.
They followed the footprints. The further they went, the worse their expressions became. Trees were chopped down and cleared into a path. Clearly someone had settled nearby.
If they live here, what should we do? Zhao Lei asked.
First, see what kind of people they are, then decide.
Zhao Loi replied.
Zhao Lei tilted his head to listen, quickly recognizing the sound, then whispered,
books.
It is wood chopping, they are cutting trees. Be careful, if anything seems wrong, we run.
Zhao Loi warned. Got it. Zhao Lei nodded.
They crept toward the sound. After a few minutes, Zhao Loi and Zhao Lei saw 2 shirtless men, about 30 years old, building a shelter. It seems they want to settle here.
Zhao Loi nodded.
More competitors made both of them tense, each wanted to win.
What now, should we greet them? Zhao Lei asked. Sooner or later both groups would meet, better to appear first to assert dominance. All right. Zhao Loi nodded. Then let us go. Zhao Lei stood up without hiding.
The sound of snapping branches made the 2 men alert.
Hello.
Zhao Loi spoke first, standing tall, trying to show presence.
The 2 men froze, then one smiled joyfully, finally we see others. Zhao Loi and Zhao Lei were stunned. Why were they so happy?
The 4 then sat down and introduced themselves.
I am Chen Jishi, an outdoor survival enthusiast. The younger one spoke.
Chen Jishi, 28 years old, was a rich second generation, also fond of extreme sports. He had short hair and a warm smile, introducing further, this is He Nang, a former Special Forces soldier.
Hello. He Nang said calmly.
With his sturdy body, He Nang exuded pressure, especially when the brothers heard he was ex-military, they felt even more tense.
Did you land in this area? Chen Jishi asked. Yes. Zhao Lei nodded, then asked, and you?
I saw you building a shelter.
Did you move here from elsewhere?
Yes, the place we were had brackish water, too dangerous. Chen Jishi sighed and said helplessly, so we had to leave. Unexpectedly we met you. This is really great.
Really great? Not necessarily. Let us cooperate.
Chen Jishi suddenly suggested.
What?
Zhao Lei and Zhao Loi widened their eyes.
What kind of move was that? You can consider it.
Chen Jishi smiled.
We. Zhao Loi began to refuse but was stopped by his brother. We will think about it. Zhao Lei quickly said, nudging his brother's back. Good, we always welcome you to join.
Chen Jishi smiled.
Thank you, we will leave first. Zhao Lei nodded and stood up to go. Chapter 123, The Key to Enduring Winter.
So Phong and Van Han walked into the forest for more than half an hour.
Just a few days away and the vines have already sprouted. Van Han looked around at the rattan trees.
If we stayed away for half a month, this path would vanish. So Phong cut the vines with his chopping knife.
Ah,
there are wild strawberries over there. Van Han's sharp eyes caught the red dots in the thicket.
Let's go and pick some, be careful of the thorns. So Phong cut branches and picked a few.
Wild strawberries are sweet and sour, but the branches have sharp hooks, also known as forest plums. In the orphanage days, sweets were rare, so wild berries were precious.
Let's pick more, we can eat on the way.
So Phong took 2 small bamboo baskets from his back and handed one to the girl. The baskets were woven by Van Han, palm-sized, about 1 decimeter tall.
Lucky I made 2 more last night. She smiled and took it.
Weaving was simple, a few bamboo twigs in 15 minutes were enough. If not for her itchy back she would have made more.
A little sour.
So Phong tasted 2 or 3 then stopped, focusing on picking.
The taste is familiar.
Van Han ate endlessly, like a greedy child.
He rolled his eyes and muttered, Van Han, do you want to stuff your belly here? Ah!
Her hand froze, embarrassed by his words. She turned and quickly stuffed more into her mouth before dropping the rest into the basket.
The sour and astringent taste was addictive. Come here, there are more. She called. Coming.
He cut the path and froze at the sight of dozens of bushes.
Our baskets cannot hold so much. She sighed. Then eat more to lighten it. He teased. I am serious. She retorted. Use bamboo tubes.
He pulled out 2 and gave them to her. They had prepared tubes for such soft fruits.
Let's make wild strawberry paste. She suggested. We have no sugar.
He replied. We can use salt, make it savory, eat with grilled fish, it will be delicious, and we can also cook it with greens. She licked her lips at the memory of orphanage meals.
You decide. He smiled gently.
We have a clay jar to store plenty of paste.
She brightened. With that goal, she picked faster and ate less.
Soon 2 baskets and 6 tubes were full, the patch nearly empty.
I cannot eat anymore.
She frowned helplessly.
Enough, let's go.
He rubbed his aching teeth.
She nodded.
These fruits would make enough paste to last long.
Next harvest will be next year. He noted the withered branches. Then we will come again next year. She answered cheerfully. He laughed and shook his head.
Last night she worried about food for next month, now she dreamed of next year. Along the way he gathered some herbs, though proper food remained scarce.
All right. She agreed.
Thinking of dried food, she asked, So Phong, when will we go to the beach? Our seaweed is almost gone.
In 2 days. He answered, also planning to see if they could catch big fish. I want to dry seafood, for soups, it will be tasty and nutritious. She said quickly. To survive the harsh winter, they needed dried seafood and greens. She recalled eating raw oysters before, feeling wasteful, better to dry them and cook with wild herbs, enough to endure 1 or 2 months. Books.
This was the key for them to survive the winter.
Chapter 124, Going Hunting.
Enduring 3 months is the key. The thought of storing enough meat to last more than 90 days felt unreal to the girl. How much meat would it take to last 90 days?
All right, in 2 days we will go to the beach.
So Phong nodded in agreement. Storing more seafood and dried fruit pleased him, after all who would dislike too much food. Moreover, the beach had not been fully explored, maybe they could find more food there.
Yes.
Van Han happily nodded, her bright eyes looked at So Phong's back, a tender light flashed in her gaze. One of the things she loved most about him was that he would listen to her suggestions, whether he accepted them or not was another matter, but it still felt comfortable.
Unlike some people who never listened, rushing to refute just to show superiority.
So Phong, why did you not refute me? She suddenly asked. Why should I refute? He smiled in surprise. About going to the beach, maybe my request conflicts with your plan, she asked seriously. She knew he always planned ahead, especially with complicated matters.
No conflict at all.
He shook his head with a smile. In fact, he had planned to go to the beach in a few days. The bamboo was used too quickly. Bamboo tubes were extremely convenient.
Oh, she frowned, hurriedly asking. What if there is a conflict?
Then we do the more important one, he answered lightly.
That is enough, she smiled brightly, satisfied with the answer. Is there a problem? He asked in doubt.
Be careful, we are reaching the small meadow, he reminded, not thinking much.
All right, she replied softly.
They followed the old path. After about 10 minutes they reached the small meadow. Keep the woodcutter's knife for protection, he handed her the knife. And you? She asked, receiving it with her small hand.
I have the bow. He held his bow, arrow ready for hunting.
They hid behind the trees, eyes watching the grassland. So, why no rabbits? She whispered. She remembered last time, rabbits hopped joyfully on the meadow.
Shall we go take a look? She asked softly.
Yes, but first set some rope traps here. Tonight we might have harvest. He moved carefully toward the meadow, bow in hand. She tiptoed after him, both hands gripping the knife, glancing back nervously. Oh, new rabbit holes, she said after noticing some were freshly dug.
As before, block some holes, leave only 6 for traps, he instructed.
All right, she nodded, taking a shovel to cover holes. With their experience, it took only half an hour to finish setting traps. So Phong, where is the large meadow? She asked curiously.
Follow me, he said, shooting an arrow into the bushes just in case before leading on. He retrieved the arrow and kept going. Do you think there will be many rabbits there? She asked dreamily.
I cannot be sure, he laughed, shaking his head. A few minutes later they reached the edge of the large meadow, eyes widening at the sight. I see them, he whispered, counting the deer. 17 deer grazed there, big and small, hidden partly by branches, so they had not noticed the 2 yet. What should we do? She whispered. Stay hidden, I will try to shoot one, he said. He moved quietly, seeking the best spot near the deer. A few minutes later he found it. A large deer was grazing only 30 to 40 meters away. A bit difficult, he muttered, drawing his bow, knowing at such range the power was not enough. He frowned slightly, moving closer risked exposure since other deer were alert.
The wide grassland had little cover. Swish! Chapter 125, The Girl's Fortune.
A bamboo arrow suddenly shot out from the forest, but due to air resistance it lost some strength despite its guiding head. Puff! The arrow missed the deer's neck and struck its foreleg, making it jump in fright and dash away.
Rustle!
The herd was startled and fled madly in one direction.
Damn, still a bit too far.
So Phong leapt down from the tree to the meadow, watching helplessly as the herd escaped. The bamboo bow lacked power, the arrow too light, a slight miss ruined the shot. Though he had gained experience, only in proper range could skill be shown. In the end, the bamboo bow was weak.
Huff huff huff. Van Han rushed over, holding the bamboo gear. She panted and soothed him. So Phong, it is fine, we will have more chances.
So Phong was startled, then smiled. Come, let us track that deer. He took the items from her, slung them on his back, without a trace of frustration.
Chase the wounded deer? Van Han asked doubtfully. Yes, its foreleg is hurt, it cannot go far. So Phong nodded. Good. Van Han agreed.
Stay close behind me, do not fall back.
So Phong reminded. This area was unexplored, getting separated would be troublesome. Understood. Van Han replied firmly. Naughty. So Phong chuckled, rolled his eyes, then strode after the deer's trail. He knew she only comforted him, yet he was not stubborn. He just wished to follow a while. If they could track it then great,
if not he would not force it. They entered the forest, following the blood trail.
After a while, Van Han cried, "So Phong, bloodstains here."
She pointed at red spots on the ground.
"I see, this way."
So Phong answered, noticing trees grew thinner.
"Ah. Why are there no trees here?" Van Han asked in surprise.
Then she murmured, "So this is it, my first time seeing this in reality."
"Come, the blood grows less." So Phong said gravely, "Fewer marks meant harder tracking."
"Yes."
Van Han trailed after him.
As they went, So Phong felt a sense of familiarity. Seeing a hill ahead, he smiled faintly. "I did not expect to reach here."
"So Phong, you have been here?" Van Han asked in shock.
"Yes, earlier I told you I found deer here, it is that hill ahead."
He pointed.
"Right, I suspect deer have the habit of circling back."
Books. On an island with limited resources, grassland scarce, another meadow must lie beyond. He saw deer here days ago, now again, his guess grew firm. "Should we still pursue?" Van Han asked softly. "Let us follow a bit more, if not, we gather mushrooms." So Phong sighed.
If deer went up the hill, he would not chase.
Though small, the hill was thickly wooded, crossing it took half a day, they would not return before dark. "Do not be disheartened, maybe the deer is ahead," Van Han encouraged. "Yes, maybe so." So Phong agreed. "The landslide looks frightening," Van Han exclaimed.
"Be careful passing, do not slip,"
So Phong warned. The landslide left wreckage, broken logs everywhere. "All right." Van Han followed closely.
Soon the bloodstains vanished, the wounded deer likely rejoined the herd.
"Huff huff huff, still follow?" Van Han gasped.
"Let us gather mushrooms nearby." Seeing her exhausted, So Phong said helplessly, "Seems we lack luck for that deer, perhaps some beast will feast instead."
"We will eat one someday," Van Han said tenderly.
They split up, searching rotten logs for mushrooms.
Indeed, the hill had many. In minutes, So Phong collected plenty. "I am coming."
Hearing her call, he rushed over, seeing her standing dumbfounded.
Reaching her, he asked, "What happened?" "So Phong, look, what is this?" Van Han smiled, stepping aside to reveal. There, right before them, stood the same wounded deer. The girl's fortune truly shone. Chapter 126, Food Reserves.
This was meant to be a disappointment, yet in a blink it turned into a surprise.
"So Phong, look over there, is that a lot of wood ear mushrooms?"
A smile glimmered in Van Han's eyes as her fair hand pointed at the rotting log ahead. It was a giant dead tree, its trunk massive, split into 3 branches, 2 of which had broken and fallen to the ground, covered with mushrooms.
"You really are my lucky star."
So Phong smiled faintly. He looked down at the deer struggling on the ground, its front leg still stuck with the bamboo arrow that had fallen off.
"I only went to take a look, and unexpectedly found this deer."
Van Han put her hands on her hips, her face full of excitement. "I will handle the deer, you go pick the mushrooms."
So Phong chuckled. "Leave it to me."
Van Han replied happily, running to pick mushrooms. On those logs, the mushrooms were plenty. After picking they weighed about 3 or 4 caddies, a fine side dish. So Phong crouched, tied the deer's hind legs, then noticed the wound on its front leg.
"First stop the bleeding, cannot let you die now." He tied a rope around the wound. He wanted to keep the deer alive, for in this weather a dead animal would quickly rot with parasites. Alive was better, and butchering in the wild was unsafe, it could attract predators. More importantly, the heart and liver could not be kept long, they must be eaten quickly. Around 40 caddies. He roughly estimated. From 40 caddies of meat, removing bones and organs left over 20 caddies, enough for a month if saved. "Let's head back quickly." He tied the deer tightly into the bamboo frame and carried it again. He walked toward the girl, asking, "How is it, finished picking. Almost done.
Van Han replied quickly, still plucking. He helped pick the bigger ones, only chicken mushrooms were missing. He planned to find them later for nutrition.
In 3 minutes they had finished. Let's go back.
So Phong adjusted his load. We should carry the deer together.
Van Han frowned. No need, it is not heavy.
So Phong shook his head, carrying it alone swiftly. They left the hill, crossed the washed gully, and headed for the meadow. At first he wanted to check the banana trees, but with the deer he changed plan.
So Phong, look, a rabbit. She called out. It ran away.
He smiled bitterly, for they had not hidden their steps.
Such a pity. She pouted.
She did not mind little meat, only wished to have meat daily.
Come, let us see the small meadow. He suggested softly. He guessed that rabbits might be there. All right. She followed meekly.
Soon they reached and found 2 rabbits caught in rope traps.
So Phong, we caught rabbits. She cried with joy. Seems today is a lucky day. He smiled.
He hurried to free them from the snare, alive they must be kept.
Now we have 4 rabbits.
She handed bamboo to him to hold them, imagining many rabbits multiplying.
Good, let us go back. He tied them and placed them in her bamboo.
She carried them, the 2 rabbits about 10 caddies.
Drink more water, do not carry it back. He took the bamboo tube, drank deeply, lightening the load. The bamboo frame was convenient, but painful on shoulders.
Harvest was joyful, but labor always followed.
After over an hour, sweaty, they reached camp. Finally back.
She beamed, her tired face bright again.
Quick, put things down. He urged. Okay.
She drew out her words. He entered the hut, helped her first, then set down the deer, checking its neck, still alive.
Put the rabbits into the bamboo cage.
She wasted no time, pushing them inside. She stuffed in weeds, then squatted, watching. Their food reserve now had 4 rabbits.
Chapter 127, A Surge of Safety.
She imagined in the coming months, there would be a whole herd of rabbits to eat.
It should be possible.
So Phong sat on a wooden chair resting, holding a ceramic bowl of water.
So when will there be little rabbits? Van Han asked with furrowed brows. That I do not know.
So Phong handed over the bowl, calmly saying,
books.
To raise rabbits until they have young, hay must be stored well.
Otherwise in winter there will be no food, and then they can only go into the pot.
Hoof. Van Han accepted the bowl, rolled her eyes and said,
I will go cut grass to store.
She dreamed of raising dozens of rabbits, enough meat to last several months. So Phong saw her thoughts, but did not dampen them, only hoped she would not eat too quickly. He stood up preparing to build a small fence, to guard against beasts at night.
So Phong, are you not dealing with the deer? Van Han asked doubtfully.
If the deer was processed in one day, the smell of blood would spread, attracting predators by night. Especially salted meat would be very tempting, so the thorn fence must be built.
Just make a small fence around the shelter.
So Phong said softly. Before he planned a large yard fence, but now could only enclose the shelter, then build more later.
Van Han quickly stood up. I will help too. No need, this is not hard. You first handle the wild berries, or they will spoil.
So Phong shook his head.
Really in time?
Her beautiful eyes flashed with worry.
Rest assured, logs and thorns are ready, it will be finished. So Phong waved his hand, stepping out.
He planned to plant posts around the shelter and hut, then lay cross sticks, and cover with thorn bushes to form a simple fence. Out of the hut, he first opened the kiln, then took the spade to dig around. He aimed to finish the fence before dusk, saving time to handle the deer.
Crack crack. Stones were pulled out as the spade dug, speed doubled.
The girl carried a basin full of berries to wash, then dried them for jam. She flushed them in a bamboo water trough, tossing aside the crushed ones. After washing, she spread the berries on long bamboo mats, which she had woven last night.
Wild greens and fungus must also be dealt with.
Van Hahn stretched her sore back, spread mushrooms to dry, sorted greens, some for dinner, some stored. By the time she finished it was over an hour, her waist sore from squatting. Leaving the hut, she saw So Phong arranging thorns, then returned to pour water.
So Phong accepted the bowl, drank, and said, "Bring the pottery from the kiln." "Okay, do you want more water?" Van Hahn gently asked. "No need."
So Phong shook his head, gave back the bowl, and continued arranging thorns.
With the wooden frame, the dense thorns fully blocked the shelter, beasts could not enter.
Time passed, the sun leaned west, and the fence was complete.
"This is wonderful." Van Hahn smiled brightly in praise, seeing the fence brought full security. Only missing a gate. So Phong wiped sweat, satisfied with the work.
He planned to gather more thorns in days, to build a larger fence and new shelter.
For now this one could serve for wood and rabbits.
So Phong, with this fence, we need not watch the fire at night.
Van Hahn said happily.
He found 4 logs, set them into a rectangle, then covered with thorn branches, forming a gate.
To prevent animals from slipping through, he placed stones around.
Van Hahn sat on a rock, tearing banana bark fibers, softened by ash water. She saw So Phong carrying the deer out, holding a chopping knife and iron pot.
"So Phong, do you need anything more?" she asked quickly. "It is enough."
Van Hahn carried the banana bark into the hut, planning to deal with it at night, now the deer mattered most. She grabbed a ceramic jar and salt, ran to So Phong.
"Is this deer dead yet?" "Soon, its heart will beat a few times more,"
So Phong said, carrying the deer that no longer struggled. She had only heard of velvet antlers as a tonic, now it was her first time seeing one. It must be processed to eat, otherwise it causes sickness.
So Phong whispered, "I have never tasted venison, I wonder how it is."
Van Hahn said softly,
"Tonight you will know." So Phong smiled. Chapter 128, The Fierce Lowly.
After waiting a day, it is finally time to kill the deer.
The first time seeing someone kill a deer in survival, the little lowly must have a feast. "I have never eaten venison, will it taste good?" "If you raise a deer, you can try once."
"A common deer costs 4,000 or 5,000 at least, my family kept one as a pet."
"Wow, now a single meal of the 2 of them is better than many days before."
So Phong did not think like those on the internet. He carried the deer to the ditch and looked at the girl.
"Well?" Yun Han blinked and asked, "Are you afraid?"
So Phong held the hatchet and asked softly,
"Afraid? Why be afraid?"
Yun Han tilted her head curiously. So Phong froze, then remembered the girl before him had dared to kill chickens and ducks at 12 or 13.
"What is it?" Was the girl truly not afraid?
No, she was a little scared. But she had killed chickens and ducks, her tolerance was far stronger than others, she was not like those little girls who screamed at the sight of blood.
"Nothing."
So Phong shook his head, lifted the hatchet and prepared to end the deer's suffering.
"Wait, do not waste the blood."
Yun Han brought a clay jar and placed it at the deer's neck. In a trading nation nothing from an animal's body was wasted, and for a thrifty girl, deer blood must not be discarded.
"It will not be wasted."
So Phong steadied the jar and struck with force, ending the struggle. He only did this to save the blood, otherwise he would not handle it here. The deer's neck was cut, its legs twitched, then it lay still, crimson blood flowed into the jar.
"So Phong, how do we cook this blood?" Yun Han asked curiously.
She had never seen anyone use deer blood, now she was confused.
"Well, maybe like cooking chicken blood?" "Will it taste good?" Yun Han frowned.
"Just try, if it is bad then stop."
Su Feng shrugged.
True, I will pick some wild greens to adjust the flavor.
Yun
Han carried the jar, working before it clotted. Su Feng bent down, slit the belly, and put the organs into a jar, heart and lungs taken out, the intestines left for later.
Done? Su Feng asked.
Yes, just wait for the blood to congeal.
Yun Han crouched and stored the jar.
She reached her pale hands into the jar of entrails, starting to clean them.
Su Feng, should we use the intestines too? Yun Han asked while rinsing.
You are the cook,
make as you think best.
Su Feng smiled.
What about making sausages?
Yun Han said with a soft laugh.
Good, in the wild to eat sausages is perfect. Su Feng nodded.
But only salt, the flavor will lack.
Yun Han pouted inside.
Clever girl, but without spices the flavor was limited.
It is fine, I am not picky.
Su Feng smiled lightly.
Add more salt, or it will not keep. Su Feng reminded.
Saltier sausages were not bad, cut a few pieces and stew with greens to make soup.
Yun Han removed the heart, asked, shall we eat this liver now?
Yes, hard to keep, eat first. Su Feng nodded, meat could be smoked to last.
Good, then tonight eat blood and organs, maybe hot pot. Yun Han's eyes lit up. Su Feng was stunned, then laughed, hot pot is fine.
The thought of hot pot came true quickly, and it was not ordinary meat.
Lucky we have lemon water and mint leaves, or it would be hard. Yun Han muttered. We also found wild ginger, ground to paste will be nice.
Su Feng said softly. Yes, ginger paste works as dipping sauce.
Yun Han replied. Spices are not urgent, later we will find more.
Su Feng said gently. Their warm talk, but in others' eyes the scene shocked many.
Why do Su Feng and Yun Han seem so different? They are not afraid of blood or organs?
I dare not watch, too cruel.
Ah, the hypocrites again. This is real survival, not a romance tale.
They scorn others as pretenders, yet eat better than anyone. I like such a fierce lowly, not like those weak girls who cannot kill a chicken.
In the countryside butchering pigs and sheep is common, what else do you think is on the table? Chapter 129, The Unsafe Night. Cough cough.
Hamin coughed softly, his eyes left the screen, those bloody organs were better not watched too much, otherwise he could not eat supper tonight.
Van Lam was watching intently, heard the cough, turned his head and asked, what is it? Throat not well? No, nothing.
Hamin's eye twitched. He looked at No Tin Noyet, saw her covering her eyes with her hands, but the gap was too wide.
No Tin Noyet tilted her head and asked doubtfully, Teacher Ha, what is wrong? Are you not afraid of those bloody organs? Hamin asked curiously. Not afraid, I often watch horror movies.
No Tin Noyet laughed and lowered her hands. Hamin's mouth twitched, if not afraid then why were her hands shaking? He remembered a saying online, people who watch horror movies are those who fear yet want to look.
Where is Vi Din? Hamin asked. I killed 11 goats. Te Vi Din replied calmly.
Hamin was speechless.
So among 4 people, only he reacted normally?
Even wanting to make sausages, really a good method.
Not that. Hearing it, Hamin asked in surprise, Tin Noyet, you can cook? Yes. No Tin Noyet nodded quickly. I never heard you can cook. Hamin said in surprise, was it a new discovery?
I only know simple dishes, like Buddha jumps over wall, roast duck, plain rice.
No Tin Noyet blinked and whispered, my grandma taught me. PFF. Van Lam spat tea, his face strange. Since when was Buddha jumps over wall a simple dish? Te Vi Din glanced at her delicate face, this one only spoke darkly? Teacher Vang, if you had a deer, how would you handle it? Hamin quickly changed subject, would you make sausages like So Fong? No, too complex for them.
Von Lamb shook his head, his face complex. Hoarse voice said, I would not think so much, just roast meat, maybe take the deer heart.
Why like that?
Ha Min was surprised, did not expect so simple. Mainly afraid of beasts attacking, the guts with strong smell would be thrown away, no time to handle.
Von Lamb said bitterly.
Time was the main reason, survival alone could not manage much, keeping meat fresh was hard enough.
So that is it. Ha Min nodded. I feel Teacher Von lacks a cook.
No Tin Noyet spread her hands.
Von Lamb rolled eyes. Ah. So Phong even keeps the deer head?
Ha Min asked in surprise.
He looked at the deer head, thinking if to throw or to cook. What is wrong? Van Han saw him daze, asked, Is there a problem? Do we still want this deer head? So Phong asked.
Of course,
why not?
Van Han glared at the deer head, it still has much meat, cook longer and no problem.
You are not afraid?
So Phong asked in surprise, he himself did not fear, only worried the girl could not accept.
Afraid of what? Chicken heads, rabbit heads I ate before, how is this different? Van Han answered strangely.
So Fong's mouth twitched, did not know how to refute, her bold reason made him silent. To her, important was how to eat all, not other things. This meat must be salted, smoked it will taste better.
Van Han took salt, rubbed on the meat. Bang bang.
So Phong washed his hands and axe, let water wash blood away, buzzing flies sounded, the blood smell was masked. He said, Bring these things back, I will handle the deer skin.
The skin must be stretched on wood, else the fur would shrink, wasting the warmth. All right. Van Han obediently took the jar back. NK books. So Phong used 3 logs to form a triangle frame, tied the deerskin.
He looked around, found no safe place, outside was not good, beasts would tear it, as fat remained.
Hang on the thorn fence is good. He chose there. Van Han, go bathe quickly. So Phong called. Tonight was unsafe, must bathe early, avoid going out. All right.
Van Han paused, set down the spoon, stood up to get clothes. So Phong saw 2 small jars of water left, decided to fill them, for tonight's use. Now they had 3 small jars, 1 for bathing, 2 for storing water.
Chapter 130, Teasing the Joyful Maiden. Ho ho.
So Phong breathed a sigh of relief, the 2 small jars of water were filled to the brim. The wooden barrel was also full, prepared for tonight to wash their hands, since much meat was still unprocessed and surely the hands would smell of blood.
So Phong, it is your turn to bathe. Van Han stepped forward, handing him the engineer shovel.
She looked at the 2 cauldrons of water and pressed her lips. At first she had planned to fetch with a ceramic jar, but when it was time to bathe, So Phong had already filled them.
All right.
He accepted the shovel, gazing at the delicate face of the girl, radiant in the firelight like a blooming lotus.
Van Han met his eyes, puzzled. What is it? Is there something on my face? Nothing.
He smiled and shook his head, then turned to set stones on the shovel over the fire. Roast the deer head first, then cook it into soup.
He said. Leave it to me.
She smiled softly. She watched him leave the wooden hut, hearing the thorn gate shut, the outside lost in darkness. She lifted her gaze to the starry sky through the narrow gap, like a frog in a well gazing at the stars. In that moment, her heart eased, no longer fearing beasts in the night, for the thorns kept them safe.
La la la.
She hummed cheerfully, starting to prepare dinner. Tonight they might not eat the deer head, yet she still roasted some meat to keep it from spoiling. She added bitter wild greens, forest ginger, and dried lemon slices to the pot to remove the smell. With bamboo she dropped each bloody piece of venison into the soup, letting it boil and settle. Without a wooden chopping board it is troublesome. She prepared to cut the deer liver but found nowhere suitable. Then the thorn gate opened with the sound of wood grinding stone.
He saw her standing dazed and asked, What is it? No chopping board. She pouted.
She glanced around, finding no proper tool, only oval stones used for boiling water.
Hang the deer legs to smoke, I will make a chopping board. He smiled. Thin slices cooked faster, whole blocks would take half a day. All right.
She nodded, glancing at the fish hanging above the fire, more than 10 in total.
She quickly asked, So Phong, what about these fish? Do not waste, we must save them.
She shook her head in protest, as the fish plus venison could last a month.
Fine, save them.
He shrugged, thinking once they had stores for 3 or 4 months, no need to be so frugal.
Otherwise food would rot.
He took the axe and began carving wood, preparing a chopping board. With it, they would not need to break herbs by hand or pull a fish apart to cut. Their tools increased step by step, soon they would craft almost everything themselves. We should also prepare wild greens with dried seafood. She tied the venison and said, that way we can survive winter.
You are the cook, do as you wish. He replied. Talk. The soup base is done.
She licked her lips, took an empty jar, placed the roasted deer head inside, added ginger, lemon and herbs, poured water and set it on fire.
It is almost ready to eat.
She moved the iron pot aside, letting the jar sit over the flames.
Only the liver left to slice, otherwise dinner was ready.
Prepare bowls and dipping sauce.
He reminded.
Hot pot without sauce had no soul, even in the wild they needed ritual.
Right, I almost forgot.
She stuck out her tongue, taking 2 bamboo bowls to mix sauce, starting with lemon juice, then mint, then ginger paste, creating a spicy dip to mask venison smell.
The chopping board is ready.
He twisted his wrist to show.
Wow, it looks just like the round boards in hotel kitchens. She exclaimed with delight, instantly fond of it.
Wash it and it is ready.
He smiled. Let me wash it.
She hurriedly said.
Chapter 131, A Rich Dinner.
She turned her head urging, Come quickly, prepare to scrub the pot.
Coming.
So Phong put down the antler branch, planning to handle it later. He sat on the wooden chair, gazing at the plate full of deer liver, thinking that in the city he would never eat so much. But in the wilderness, liver was a rare source of minerals, something ordinary people could hardly taste.
She also sat on the wooden chair, holding chopsticks. No need to wait, I just came back home. I will taste the deer blood.
So Phong picked up a piece from the iron pot, dipped it in sauce and put it in his mouth. The taste of forest ginger filled his tongue, followed by a soft bitter note.
How is it? Van Han asked with wide worried eyes. So much deer blood, if inedible, would be torture and waste. Tsk tisk.
So Phong swallowed and raised his thumb.
Then eat more.
Van Han beamed, quickly adding more for him.
You eat too.
So Phong hurried to add deer heart meat into the pot, where the broth still boiled over charcoal.
I add some wild greens. Van Han dropped them in, blanched and took them out. Do not only eat greens, have more meat.
So Phong filled her bowl with venison.
I can take it myself. Van Han smiled. Viewers outside could only envy. Stop talking, I want to eat hot pot now. If wilderness survival is like this, I also want to join. Every day looks like a feast. So full.
Van Han patted her belly, her first time in the wild eating until full. Deer blood and liver were gone, only some broth left. She looked at it regretfully, 1 bowl of soup left, pity it cannot be eaten.
Forget it, no meat inside.
So Phong rolled his eyes, picked the cleaver and clay pot of venison, ready to chop for sausage.
I will wash these. Van Han gathered bowls, intending to wash.
Do it tomorrow at the stream, waste dumped inside will rot and stink.
So Phong stopped her. The hut had no drain, leaving scraps inside would smell terrible. Right, I almost forgot. Van Han halted.
She had seen the water in the barrel and thought to wash, now she put dishes down and returned, watching him cut meat. So Phong, how to pour meat into the casing later, she asked curiously. Use a bamboo tube to pour slowly.
He answered, already considered. Seems possible. She nodded. Time to chop the last meat. He cut small pieces, then chopped finely with the cleaver. Sprinkle some salt, Van Han said while scattering salt. Bang, bang, bang. The cleaver struck the wooden board, echoing around. After 20 minutes, venison minced, salt added. Now we can fill the casing, he said, carving and washing bamboo tubes to use. Venison flowed through bamboo into the casing, sausages forming. Van Han tied short sections, poked holes with a small bamboo stick to release air. Hang it hidden between hut and trees. So Phong smiled. Yes, that works. Van Han brightened, hanging them to dry. Then he handled the last item, the precious antler. He scraped it clean, boiled it to remove hair. After long minutes, hair gone, then sun drying to preserve. So Phong, done with the pot? Van Han carried a jar. Yes, you want to boil water? He lifted the antler, tied it. I want to make wild berry syrup. She shook her head, washed the pot, poured berries in. If not processed soon, berries would rot. Syrup was not hard, only needed patience, which she had. Meanwhile, So Phong collected banana bark fibers, planning to ask her to weave clothes for him. Chapter 132, Seizing Food. Today the two brothers were lucky, they caught a python over 1 meter long. Having meat to eat is already good. Zhao Lei tore at the snake meat, chewing slowly, not daring to eat too fast. Eating slowly stretched the craving, eating fast ended it at once and made him remember the smoked lizard. He thought about Chen Zhishi today, making dinner taste dull. Zhao Lei chewed snake meat, saw his younger brother's dazed face and asked, "What is it? Snake meat not edible? What do you mean?" Zhao Lei stopped tearing meat, frowned at his brother. Cooperation, Chen Zhishi said cooperation. Zhao Lei replied in a deep voice. I do not know, what do you think? Zhao Lei was stunned then shook his head. I think we can try once. Zhao Lei's eyes lit up, he said seriously, it is too hard for just 2 of us to survive, with 2 more it would be different. He had no other way, did not dare to search far, so food was scarce, the only option was cooperation. He was proud, would not admit the other 2 were better. Zhao Lei, think about our situation. Zhao Lei snapped angrily. What situation? Did we not just catch a python? Times are fine. Zhao Lei retorted. He did not trust Chen Zhishi and his partner, even held hostility, thinking they came to seize territory. Not so? Zhao Lei widened his eyes, puzzled why his brother thought times were good. Do you think they truly want to cooperate with us? Zhao Lei asked flatly. What do you mean? Zhao Lei frowned. In cooperation, who leads? Zhao Lei raised one finger, do not forget, only one champion. Zhao Lei felt like spitting blood, he said angrily, only if we last till the end can we talk, right now we cannot endure. Catching this snake cannot cover our energy loss. 1 day spent, just 1 snake, their strength already waning. Zhao Lei was speechless, suddenly the snake meat tasted bland, blowed. Zhao Lei pressed earnestly, if we cooperate with Chen Zhishi, it is a breakthrough, more chances to find food, to last longer, maybe we reach top 3. His words moved Zhao Lei, who asked hesitantly, you really want to work with them? Yes, with 2 more we can catch big prey. Zhao Lei replied firmly. Zhao Lei's tone softened, let us contact them first, if not suitable, then forget it. Okay. Zhao Lei nodded. On the other side, Chen Zhishi and Black Bear warmed themselves, eating palm nuts. Their shelter was not built yet, they just sat by the fire. It surely will. Chen Zhishi chewed calmly, to survive 1 year in the wild is not easy, teaming up raises the success chance. He had observed Zhao Lei and Zhao Lui, noticed they were not in good shape. But food will be consumed faster. Black Bear saw it differently, thinking they could survive well. No, not calculated like that. Consumption is large. Black Bear argued. Indeed, cannot change that.
Chen Jishi spread his arms calmly, but more hands make work easier than just two surviving.
More people meant more consumption but also more food searching and work sharing, an undeniable fact. It was about weighing. You are the leader, you decide. Black Bear stopped arguing, he was only hired bodyguard.
In Chen Jishi's heart, 1 year wild survival, I must get the champion, using others is still fine.
They will not submit easily. Black Bear reminded.
No, benefits not big enough yet, with enough benefits they will change.
Chen Jishi wagged his finger, smiled, we just need to pass early stage, later we must actively seek new allies. Black Bear understood, it was to eliminate opponents early and secure top 3.
Many think like us, without early advantage survival is hard.
Chen Jishi smiled. Later moves would decide victory, books. Maybe even seizing food. Big reward was only one. I know what to do. Black Bear nodded. Not sure what kind of rivals will come.
Chen Jishi looked at night sky, he liked unknown challenges, more thrilling than extreme sports.
As long as food is plenty, nothing to fear.
Black Bear said gravely.
Indeed. Chen Jishi kept chewing palm nut. Chapter 133, Beasts at the Doorstep.
After more than half an hour, they finally took out the batch of berry sauce.
So much.
So Phong said in surprise, he thought it would only fill half the pot. From now on, roasted meat can be eaten with berry sauce.
Van Han said with a gentle smile, she took out a clay jar to store it.
If she had not just eaten, she would have wanted to roast some meat to taste it right away.
You can cook a little venison now. So Phong whispered.
The young girl often craved food, she could hardly resist.
All right.
Van Han filled a jar with the sauce, sealed it and placed it on the table, marked with the date of the first day of the 5th month 7, so it would be convenient later. She then sat beside him, took the bundle of fibers, and began twisting them into thin threads.
Go to sleep first.
So Phong looked at her delicate face, clearly tired.
They had been busy all day, only at dinner did they rest.
I will finish these and sleep, tomorrow I will prepare you a cloth shirt.
Van Han shook her head, her hands swiftly spinning.
The weather grew colder, no longer hot like when they first arrived on the island.
No need to rush, we have plenty of time. So Phong said softly. I am not rushing.
Van Han pouted, but her hands did not slow. He did not insist, she was too stubborn. He looked up at the roof of the hut, where venison, sausages, and dried fish hung, enough for 1 month, so it was time to build a new shelter. Winter was near, this place could not keep warm, snow might crush it. He had planned to build before, but they lacked food. Now with 1 month stored, he could work with ease.
Awah! Suddenly a beast roared close in the night. It is nothing, maybe a beast passed by.
He reassured her, though his eyes were tense at the thorn fence.
He could not see outside.
With the thorn fence here, even if beasts come, they cannot get in.
He said calmly.
Of course, unless some foolish one rams its head on the thorns.
He smiled. Seems not.
Van Han smiled faintly, less worried.
Tonight may be noisy, go sleep first. He patted her back. But I want.
Her cheeks flushed, her small hands tangled, shy.
Go inside, use the bamboo tube, I will adjust the camera. He whispered.
He knew what she meant, danger lurked outside, she still had to use the bamboo tube.
Ah. She froze. It is possible, but. Her face reddened, embarrassed. I can cover my ears. He smiled. Stop it.
She blushed, covered his mouth, not daring to look.
Go on.
He pulled her hand away and pushed her gently. He picked up the camera, tapping wood so the viewers only heard noises. The audience grew restless.
What happened? What are you whispering? Why does he always do this at key moments? Disgusting, I want to see the little lowly, not hear this noise. Maybe she was scared by the roar. Van Han stepped inside, glancing back at his back, her heart both shy and uneasy. A whoa! Another roar sounded closer. She pressed her lips, glanced around at the branches shielding them, and calmed. No problem, beasts cannot enter. His gentle voice came. A whoa! The cries grew louder, clearly more than one, drawn by blood scent. All right. Her embarrassed voice rang. So soon? He turned, she was already in her sleeping bag. He had focused on the beasts, not noticing when she went in. Rustle! The thorns outside stirred, making him tense. What beast is out there? He frowned. Tonight was the beast's domain, he dared not act rashly. Unlike other survival channels, he had no armed crew. He squatted, threw more wood into the fire, smoke rose thick, he needed to finish smoking the venison. Chapter 134, A Strong Heart. The beasts roared in the dark night, making people uneasy. Through the drone's camera, one could see the scene outside the shelter, bears and red wolves wandering around the camp. The viewers in the live broadcast were startled and fired comments rapidly. Are the two little girls safe? Why do I feel so nervous? So Phong, charge forward, kill the bear and eat it. Look at So Phong, still so calm at this moment, his heart is really steady. He does not know there is a bear outside, otherwise he would be scared to death. It is truly dangerous, if not for the thorn fence the two would already be dead. It is not that exaggerated, there is still the bonfire. If it were me, I would rush out to kill the bear, then we would have meat for months. So the wild night is so dangerous, I even plan to try survival myself. Haze. But he knew. With the knowledge in his mind, So Phong quickly recognized the bear's roar. Yet he pretended not to know, otherwise the girl would not be able to sleep at all. You sleep first, I will guard the night for a while. So Phong turned back with a reassuring smile and whispered, the deer meat must be smoked well, otherwise the beasts outside will never leave. Indeed, if the deer's blood was not smoked, it would continue to lure the bears and red wolves to linger nearby. Carnivores cannot always fill their stomachs, they often eat once then starve for days, so the smell of fresh blood will naturally stir them. Then I will wait with you. Van Han obediently replied, unable to sleep, as the noise outside grew louder. So Phong stoked the fire strongly, the beasts outside grew restless, smelling but unable to eat the meat. He thought that even with a gun, if he rushed outside he would hardly escape death. Books. Rustling, branches trembled, followed by painful howls. Too bad I cannot see outside, it must be funny. So Phong chuckled, easily imagining the beasts caught by thorns. So Phong, were we very lucky last time? Van Han suddenly asked. Last time? So Phong paused then smiled, yes, last time was really lucky. They meant the time they smoked fish, catching more than 40, yet the smell did not attract a bear. Perhaps the bear was already full then. Tomorrow we should prepare more thorn bushes, that will be safer. Van Han said softly, clearly still shaken, not expecting deer meat to attract so many beasts. With me here, nothing will happen. So Phong reassured her gently. Tonight reminded him that the shelter must be absolutely safe, otherwise prey would lure beasts to rob it. Time passed slowly, more beasts gathered as the night deepened. Howls echoed, branches shook, sometimes animals bumped into the thorn fence. If the thorns were not long enough, the beasts would have broken in. I wonder if there are wild boars. So Phong murmured. He yawned, glanced at the sleeping bag, and saw the girl had unknowingly fallen asleep. He gave the mental order, mark. Better to endure until dawn. So Phong added more wood to the fire. Once morning came, he could claim the day 27 gift pack. Outside, the smoke from the deer meat made the beasts more restless. In the viewer's eyes, it looked as if So Phong was teasing the beasts on purpose.
On Huen Noyet Island, in the wooden house, the staff paid close attention to the broadcast. Seeing the bear appearing made them tense, some even prepared to start a helicopter. "Chief, should we take the 2 challengers out?" one staff member asked.
If a challenger was in danger, they could take them away, meaning elimination, but safety was assured. No hurry.
Li Ko waved his hand, his cloudy eyes fixed on the screen.
But the staff wanted to continue but was silenced by Truong Chi Vai's sharp glare.
"This kid is very clever, building a thorn fence to block the beasts,"
Li Ko said calmly.
"Normally anyone who caught a deer would butcher it immediately, even if fearing danger they would process it away from camp. Who would think to build a fence first?"
Indeed very clever, his heart steady too. Everything handled properly.
Truong Chi Vai praised. He admired how they perfectly processed the deer, not even wasting a drop of blood, nothing squandered, which impressed him deeply.
He admired their composure, surrounded by beasts yet not calling for rescue.
"No danger, no need to interfere,"
Li Ko said calmly. "Yes," the staff replied. Chapter 135, Scumbag Man?
The sisters sat around the campfire roasting deer meat. The fresh meat was smoked, the blood was poured into the stream, the inedible organs were buried, so they had no worries later. "Sister, the deer meat is ready, stop roasting."
Lu Wai Thursday looked at the meat in her sister's hand.
After the night's threat, they decided to fortify the shelter, building a bamboo fence around for safety. They worked until dusk without dinner. When watching survival videos, she remembered the advice: in the wild one can go hungry but never eat raw, a small illness can bring you down.
"Let me roast one skewer?" Lu Wai Mang asked hopefully, her delicate face looked pitiful.
"No, you will burn it black."
Lu Wai Thursday refused. "Come on, I can learn." Lu Wai Meng pouted. "Wait until we return, buy some chicken feet for you to practice."
Lu Wai Thursday replied calmly, used to her sister's whining.
Eh?
Lu Wai Meng, blocked, angrily bit into a mango.
"Sister, honestly, with this attitude you cannot marry."
She rolled her eyes slyly and whispered, "I heard from a friend, men like gentle girls, you are too strong, careful not to scare them." Every time she teased her sister into blushing, she found it fun.
"Really?" Lu Wai Thursday frowned and said coldly, "And you might not be wanted either." "Me? I will never marry." Lu Wai Meng pouted. "Not marry, planning to be a nun?"
Lu Wai Thursday replied smoothly. They had this talk many times before.
"Being alone is fine, if meeting a scumbag man it is better not,"
Lu Wai Meng said while bowing her head. The firelight cast shadows on her face, full of gloom.
"Enough, do not talk about him."
Lu Wai Thursday's face darkened, her mood also worsened. "We can do it, mother is waiting for money for treatment," Lu Wai Thursday said firmly. Their mother was seriously ill, overworked, then collapsed, diagnosed with cancer. Surgery and care cost over 1 million yuan.
For 2 girls not yet graduated, it was huge. Relatives only lent enough for basic medicine. At a dead end, they signed for survival 365 days and luckily were chosen.
They aimed for top 3 prizes, as long as over 1 million was enough.
"Sister, don't you have many suitors, none can lend 1 million? Lu Wai Mang asked curiously. "What are you thinking, no one lends such money." Lu Wai Thursday rolled eyes. "True, they only chase your beauty."
Lu Wai Mang sighed, she too suffered from unwanted attention. "Better rely on yourself, stop thinking too much," Lu Wai Thursday said calmly, determined to win this survival challenge to avoid bowing to others. "I think now is good, no need to worry," Lu Wai Meng said energetically, staring at meat, then sighed, "Only food is little, otherwise I could live here many years."
"Ah, sister, you are hateful. This teaches you to face reality,"
Lu Wai Thursday said calmly. "Humph, quickly find a husband and let him manage you."
Lu Wai Meng acted coy. "Relax, if you don't marry, I won't either." Lu Wai Thursday smiled faintly. Then you are doomed, I will not marry. Lu Wai Meng laughed. Not certain, when you meet a man who moves your heart, you will change. Lu Wai Thursday said while flipping meat. NK Books. Why do you sound like mother? Lu Wai Meng pouted, then said slowly, why need a man? I can cook, carry rice, wash clothes, shop or play games, all alone. Strong and energetic, she could carry 30 kilos of rice with ease. Really? Lu Wai Thursday smirked, teased, cooking without stomachache is lucky. Shopping always drags me along. Games, you always get hunted. Lu Wai Meng's gaming skill was like fiercest tiger, record still 0. Sister, you are not good at games either. Lu Wai Meng tried to argue. Lu Wai Thursday handed her half a large roasted deer meat. Enough, eat. Ah, finally can eat. Lu Wai Meng happily accepted, carefully biting, slowly chewing, then taking a big bite of mango. Chapter 136, New Gift Pack. Check in. Once again Phong stayed up all night. As the system chime rang out, a virtual screen appeared before his eyes. Ding! 7 days checked in, received 1 basic gift pack. The mechanical voice echoed in his mind, instantly dispelling his sleepiness, drawing his focus from the fire, where he saw the glowing number 14 on the screen. He quickly gave the order and thought, open the gift pack. Ding! 1 basic mushroom culture formula. Ding! 1 basic poisonous plant handling experience pack. Ding! 1 basic wilderness medicine experience pack. 3 voices echoed in his mind, lifting his mood greatly. He glanced at the camera, deciding to wait and open it inside the sleeping bag to avoid exposing unusual reactions. He stood up, drank some water, entered the shelter, removed combat pants and shoes, and carefully slid into the sleeping bag. Suo Fong Yunhan suddenly murmured softly. You are still awake? He was surprised. He looked down at the girl with half-closed eyes, clearly half asleep. Asleep, already asleep. Yunhan whispered, hugging him, rubbing her head against his chest. Sleep, I am here. He embraced her slender waist, patting her back gently like soothing a little girl. MHM Yunhan responded softly, falling asleep at ease. He yawned, slowly closing his eyes, and gave the command, open the mushroom culture formula pack. Ding! Mushroom culture formula transmitting. Within 3 seconds, knowledge surged into his mind, clearing his thoughts. He absorbed silently, then grew amazed. Just in time. He thought, the culture solution could speed mushroom growth and even allow them to thrive in poor environments. Mushrooms are strict about habitat, especially costly ones like linglu or pine mushrooms. Fortunately, the solution was made by fermenting plants, easily found outdoors. 32 formulas, increasing growth 32-fold, truly heaven-defying. He sighed in his heart. Suddenly, he realized with private land, he could grow rare mushrooms like linglu, one of the 3 delicacies. Each gene of linglu was worth 4,000 euros. Excellent, another path to wealth added. His heart filled with joy. Most important, this culture solution could change the mushroom environment. By creating a suitable spot at the base, they would have endless mushrooms, especially button mushrooms. Very good, time to plan. He nodded in satisfaction. He then thought, open poisonous plant handling experience pack. Ding! Poisonous plant handling experience transmitting. His head felt struck, knowledge poured in, sweat beading on his forehead. After more than 10 minutes, he adapted, organizing the knowledge. Once done, he smiled silently. This gift pack was superb. Among the knowledge were methods to detoxify tubers, extracting edible starch. Now the main dish is secured. He chuckled quietly, glancing at the girl, resisting the urge to share. Yes, in the next days I will test the tuber detox methods. He decided. Relaxed, he gave the thought, open wilderness medicine experience pack. This time, his mind stumbled, falling into dreamlike haze, immense medical knowledge poured in.
Half an hour later, he barely digested it, head heavy and swollen.
TSS.
He hissed, carefully sorting it, finding it was all herbal treatment knowledge, almost like traditional Chinese medicine, except without acupuncture or massage, only pure herbal formulas.
Do they want me to become a master pharmacist? He smiled inwardly.
If this pack came earlier, Yun Han's cold would have been solved easily. Good, now I have a new safeguard, future minor illness I can heal myself. He felt grateful. With all packs opened, sleepiness overwhelmed him.
Whoa.
Outside, the beast still howled, but he no longer had the strength to care.
Chapter 137, Paper.
Early morning rain fell, the temperature dropped suddenly. I did not expect to sleep so well. So Phong opened his eyes, looking up at the roof of their shelter. He listened to the rain, his body lazy, unwilling to move. Yesterday opening the gift made him excited, so this morning he woke up early. Now he had 9 gift packs, among them 2 could ensure money, though long-term use was needed.
MHM.
Van Han softly groaned, lips pursed, rubbing her face. After a few minutes she opened her eyes, dazed a moment before waking fully. She gently slipped out of So Fong's embrace, raised her head and saw his dark eyes.
How did you sleep? So Phong asked with a smile. Hush. Van Han's face flushed, she pulled into the sleeping bag. After a while she whispered, I slept very well.
So Phong rolled his eyes, as if he were a beast. Clearly they had slept together for over 10 days, yet she was still shy. He sat up, saying softly, It is raining outside, you can sleep more. Rain brought cold air, many tasks could not be done, otherwise sickness came easily. Even with his medical knowledge, prevention was better.
Are you going out? She asked. Not for now.
He shook his head, without a coat he would not suffer the rain.
NK Books.
He dressed, rubbed his belly, the weather was strange. He lit dry grass, blew gently, fire rose, added branches until a fire burned. Turning back, he saw Van Han in short shirt and shorts, ready to put on a jacket. All good, she said softly.
Cough.
He cleared his throat, placed a ceramic pot on the fire, poured water in a steel pot, hung it on a hook to boil.
With rain, the beast should be gone, he said with a grin. The venison smoked overnight, blood smell faded, plus rain, no worry of attracting beasts.
Kaki, wood scraped against stone sharply. He pushed open the thorn gate carefully, peered out to see only a curtain of rain, drops hitting his head made him shiver. Really cold. He pulled back, shut the gate. Outside is safe, just heavy rain, he told her.
I need the toilet.
Van Han blushed, pulled her hood, and left. Be careful, check the cage first, he warned.
I know, she answered softly. We need to think of warmth.
He sat by the fire, body warming. He tore banana bark into fibers, planning to weave cloth. If clouds blocked sun, he would stay by fire, too cold to go out.
Kaki. Do you also need the toilet? She asked, shivering, rain dripping.
Wear the jacket, she said.
Okay. He nodded.
He dropped the bark, accepted her jacket, wearing it felt warm, carrying her scent. Stepping out, he glanced at the hovering drone, then entered the cage.
Minutes later he returned, frowning. No paper was inconvenient, using leaves forever was no solution. Should I make paper? He murmured. He checked the thorn fence, many branches dragged, some pulled a meter away.
He squatted to examine, sighed, rain washed all traces, hard to tell.
He guessed beasts pulled branches while seeking venison.
He restored them, wedged stones to hold. Looking up, he used a stick to take deer hide, planned to burn away fat.
Kaki. Put it on, I have a back cover. Van Han said, wearing rough cloth. Not cold here.
So Phong set the hide by fire. He took mint, crushed in bamboo bowl, added charcoal, stirred, tried making wild toothpaste.
MHM. He tasted.
First was strange, strong mint, but acceptable. He brushed with stick, then thought he could also make a toothbrush.
Chapter 138, A Mouthful of Fur.
In the wild, making a toothbrush is not easy. Tying animal hair with rope is useless. After just a few brushes the mouth was full of fur.
So Phong, how is it, did you hurt your gums?
Van Han lifted her head and asked with concern. The girl once used a wooden stick to brush and hurt her gums. She silently endured pain for several days, so now she used her finger instead.
No, just feels like this wooden stick is hard to use.
So Phong shook his head and rinsed his mouth. Using fingers also works, I have been doing so these days.
Van Han smiled shyly. You hurt your gums before?
So Phong frowned and guessed the result.
All right, then let us make a toothbrush ourselves. So Phong wiped his face and said, Ah, make a toothbrush?
Van Han was stunned, quickly turning her head, but we have no rubber to fix it.
Use pine resin instead.
So Phong said lightly.
But pine resin is not sticky enough, the animal hair will fall off? Van Han frowned.
She had thought of making a toothbrush, but found no good way. Tying hair with rope was impossible.
I have a way to keep it from falling. So Phong grinned. What way? Van Han asked doubtfully. Eat breakfast first, since it rains today we stay inside, I will do some handicraft.
So Phong smiled mysteriously. Gums are fragile and easy to hurt, infection may occur. When the mouth is hurt, food has no taste, brushing teeth is important to start the day. While it rained outside, he decided to improve some living tools.
Viewers saw the rain and asked curiously. Without rubber, how can you make a brush?
No idea, do not ask me. Supermarket sells 3 for 20 yuan. Brush then whole mouth is fur, change one every 2 days. I have my laptop ready, waiting for So Phong's natural tutorial.
My dog-tail fur is prepared.
I contacted a factory, toothbrushes will appear soon.
Even Toonie here, can my rooster's feathers make brushes?
The pot with deer head meat was tender, the two ate hot breakfast, chasing away the cold. Van Han was not picky, but with unknown food still felt hesitant.
All right. So Phong smiled. The unknown always brings conflict. Breakfast was quickly finished, the soup was plentiful so they were full.
Van Han took hemp fiber, today she planned to weave cloth to keep So Phong warm. He took out pine resin, placed a large piece on the engineer's shovel. Resin has water, must be heated so it evaporates, leaving sticky extract.
Sizzling sounds came, resin melted fast, oil crackling, showing evaporation.
After a few minutes he took the shovel off the fire, waited for a bit, then it could be used. He glanced at the rabbit cage and said, brush bristles, deer tail hair is best. He carefully plucked the deer tail fur, arranged neatly. After more than 10 minutes his eyes were tired, meticulous work consumes effort.
Still some left. Van Han nodded and asked, you want to use it?
Yes, to tie these hairs. He showed the fur in hand.
Let me give you this.
Van Han put down hemp fiber, went to fetch hidden tools.
She pulled a bamboo tube with wooden needles, thread, and cloth. All here. She handed thread and asked, using thread will not fall off?
Yes, with resin it will hold.
He nodded.
Then he divided deer hair into 20 small parts, each with over 10 hairs.
Dip resin, then tie with thread.
He did carefully, wound thread many times, tied tightly, so even brushing hard the hair would not fall.
All 20 parts were tied
NK
same
books.
way, each knot had to be firm. After 1 hour he finished 20 parts. Done? Van Han whispered.
She understood the principle, this careful method could keep the hair fixed. Society now too hasty, people rarely think of such ways, they only choose shortcuts. Wait for resin to harden, that is the second layer of protection.
So Phong smiled. And the handle of toothbrush?
Van Han asked further, fixing to handle was most important. Wait and see, the author tries to keep it real, at least it should work.
Chapter 139, Cloth Garment. Too troublesome, my hands do not want to move.
I shaved off the tail fur of Aircap at home. Even the wall next door can be used as a toothbrush, but brushing will fill the mouth with fur. The viewers watching were full of enthusiasm to learn, for them handicraft was worth attention, since no one knew if they would get lost in the wild. Learning one more skill was always good.
The toothbrush handle is not difficult.
Phong smiled softly. He took out a piece of bamboo, quickly carved it, and within minutes made a handle.
How to do? Should we use pine resin to glue it? Van Han stopped her work and asked intently.
Now there is plenty of deer hair, just carve small slots on the handle to hold the hair, then tie both ends with thread tightly, and that is enough.
Phong explained while working. So that is it, I understand.
Van Han suddenly realized, once the principle was clear, making a toothbrush was not hard. The key was the hair falling issue, but by bundling and tying tightly, the problem was solved. Only the craft is a bit troublesome. Phong whispered, first tying one end with thread to avoid cutting the slots too deep. After binding, he carefully carved 4 small slots. Then he divided 20 tufts of deer hair into 4 parts, placed 5 tufts into each slot, and tied them tight again.
The last step was trimming the bristles evenly. He heated the knife on fire and cut the tips neatly. A toothbrush was done. The toothbrush looked rough, not pretty but very practical.
Here, from now on use this to brush.
Phong gave it to the girl. So wonderful.
Van Han smiled brightly, raised her thumb. This time she no longer needed to use her hand to clean her teeth.
I will make one more.
Phong said softly.
Crackling sounds.
This time he used rabbit fur to make another toothbrush, following the same process. A small task but cost more than an hour. Careful work always consumed time. He took out mint charcoal powder from the bamboo tube, dipped the brush into it like wild toothpaste, and began brushing. Phong, then when we return to the city we do not need to buy toothbrushes, all can be handmade.
Van Han teased. Glug glug, spit. Is it too ugly?
Van Han looked at her pottery, a little discouraged at her poor craft. Then I will find some flower petals to make dye. She replied gently. In the wild many flowers were natural dyes. If used well, they were not inferior to chemical ones.
Should I make some brushes so I can paint? Phong smirked.
No need brushes yet, but better to make hair brushes for spreading sauce when roasting.
Van Han said softly.
Hair brushes are not difficult.
Phong nodded.
He skinned some more rabbit fur, choosing tail hair because it was coarser. As before, he divided into more than 10 tufts, tied them tightly with thread, this time no pine resin to avoid mixing into meat.
Finally twist all the flax thread. Van Han sighed, watching the shuttles filled with fibers.
The flax thread was much rougher than city bought, thick like yarn, with 10 shuttles enough to weave a large cloth.
Should we make a loom? Phong asked. Yes, just a simple one.
Van Han stretched her back, speaking softly, like the one the orphanage director used. The old director was from earlier times. Decades ago villages still used wooden looms. The girl had learned a little. Phong had also observed, once the principle was remembered, it was not hard. We can, it is not difficult. Phong answered, carving bamboo to make the frame. He made a rectangular frame, one side nailed with many bamboo sticks like a fence to hold threads. The principle was parallel threads, odd and even, one end tied to a separate stick, others fixed to the frame, then controlling the stick up and down. Pass the shuttle through, then reverse, crossing and interweaving, gradually forming cloth.
Chapter 140, The Hard Way to Survive. So Phong and Van Han are so tough, even making toothbrushes and a weaving machine. Min sighed. He suspected they were not just reclaiming wasteland but could even build a small village.
Tevaitin quietly watched the screen, seeing the loom in Phong's hands reminded her of the old one in her hometown before becoming an orphan.
Handmade toothbrushes, I love handmade things.
No Tin Noyet said sweetly. Von Lam was speechless. Surviving in the wild was hard enough, now they even plan to weave cloth.
Eh?
Phong Lam twitched his lips. No, I am not as skillful as them.
Really?
No Tin Noyet narrowed her eyes, looked at him, then turned back to the screen.
Phong Lam felt uncomfortable. What did that look mean? Was she despising him? Let's just watch how they weave. Min quickly eased the tension, saving Vong from embarrassment. Alright, we can start weaving.
So Phong looked at the loom over 1 meter wide, already filled with hemp threads.
No problem. He nodded.
With 2 people weaving, speed was much faster, no need to run back and forth. While working, they chatted.
So Phong, what shall we do tomorrow? Van Han asked while keeping her hands busy.
Cut wood to build a new shelter.
He replied softly. So soon?
This shelter still works. She was surprised. The weather is turning cold, I fear wind will collapse it, we need a stronger one.
He said calmly.
Indeed, he feared storms, the crude shelter could not stand them.
You are more and more like the orphanage
NK
director.
Books.
He chuckled.
Back in the orphanage, whenever children complained, the old lady would say lucky words, then scold them for being gloomy.
Humph.
She rolled her eyes angrily. Don't jinx it, this shelter will not fall.
We need a bed, not sleeping on grass forever. He pursed his lips, then said, we need a fireplace in the wall, a toilet, and a bathroom. What, so many? She was stunned.
According to his plan, building little by little, after more than 10 days a new shelter would be ready.
Isn't that wasting time?
Her eyes flickered, she hesitated, we still need to store food for winter.
Don't worry, I will find time to hunt. He reassured gently.
He planned to catch a few large saltwater fish, keeping this plan hidden from her. Deer and rabbits were also on his list. Half the time hunting, half the time building fences and shelter.
Night came, another day ended. Finally done. She laughed, stretching her hands, eyes bent like crescents.
A cloth 1 meter wide was finished, it took at least 5 or 6 hours to weave.
Let's cook dinner, then make clothes. He said softly. All right.
She set down the shuttle and stood up, stretching.
She asked, what's for dinner?
Stew venison with wild herbs, easier that way.
He replied while taking tools. Fine. She nodded, starting dinner. He picked up the deer hide by the fire, touched the dried fat that needed to be softened and removed. He carried a wooden bucket, filled with water, added ashes, then soaked rabbit and deer hides. So Phong, the salt is almost gone. She whispered.
Yesterday's stew consumed much, only enough for 5 or 6 more days.
I know, in 2 days we will go to the sea to make salt. He frowned.
Salt was essential, even seasoning wild herbs required a lot.
NK
It was
Books.
urgent now.